Hey y'all,
Hey y'all.
welcome to Marriage Minutes at its Pace. And this week, we're going to talk about what do you do when the support you had is gone. And so, in this day and time, as you can see, a lot of things that were put in place to help those of this world have been taken away. Roe versus Wade, and then just recently, affirmative action is teetering on being taken out as well. And so, what do you do in your life when those things that have been supportive? How do you make that transition? How do you become self sufficient, so to speak, when some things that were part of your life or part of your marriage is no longer there?
Ooh, I wasn't ready to say anything about that. That's deep when you start talking about what's being pulled away in this country. And I think even more so why it's being pulled away, right? Is it really being pulled away because we don't have the resources, or is it really being pulled away because we just don't care about those who are maybe not as well off as we are, or the people that are making those decisions? Do they just not care about those of us who are not as well off as they are? I think that question mark comes down to a sense of entitlement. Like people who have already, they don't have the ability to think beyond themselves because they already have it. And so I think in marriage that could also occur because maybe if you as the one spouse are stronger in some area, or you got some kind of ability, you don't even think about what your spouse has or doesn't have because you got it. And I think that in marriage, sometimes we roll into that and don't have empathy for the other person because we just think, well, you should know how to do that. Or because I got it, you got it. And I think that's what's going on in this country. And I also think that that's what goes on in selfish marriages. So back to that support question, I don't know what you do, but I do know it happens, and I do know that it's a problem. I think it starts with prayer, and I think it starts with rebuilding some support some other kind of way. You got to figure it out, right? Because I mean, God has still called you to be married. You're still in a marriage. So just because one support is pulled out does not mean that there can't be another.
That's good. That's good. And I think you said something. It starts with prayer, and you have to look at, has your dependency on that particular support been to your detriment? And so when you look at that and evaluate it, uh, it's like you're a physical therapist. And tell me this: when you have a client who has a crutch or maybe a wheelchair, let's just say crutch or cane, uh, at what point can you see that they're strong enough to progress beyond that? Or is there just still maybe a mental dependency because it's there?
Yeah, I think it depends. I think as a PT, I am charged with the responsibility of assessing that person as they're walking. And I have to challenge them with that device first to make sure that they are stable with that. Mm-hmm. And then as I see progress and see that they're becoming more independent, I may pull that device away and walk with them very closely, or definitely have my hand still on them, okay, or walk closer to them. So I might take it away, but then I add a different support until I believe that they're comfortable. And then the progression is if the goal is for them to be independent, then I'm constantly moving back and assessing. I'm taking away my cues, right? My verbal cues, get less. And when I know somebody is independent, is if I can tell them to go off and do something and I'm 100 feet away from them and they're able to perform whatever the task is way over there, and I don't have to do anything about it. So that's the way I kind of assess and am able to know that somebody moves from being dependent on something to independent.
And I think Rhonda just gave some good insight, is you have to evaluate where you are, and then you almost have to start pulling back and start to allow yourself to be self-sustaining to where that you can support and move on outside of that which is support for you. I don't know what those things are for you. I don't know what those things are in your marriage that you have just been so dependent upon to always be there. but there may come a day and time when they're not there. And so what do you do then? What do you do to get beyond that? And so I think you need to start, testing yourself and seeing how far you can go without some support, and see how self-dependent, how independent you can become without some things that have been detrimental to yourself and detrimental to your marriage.
Yeah. So, but I would say don't be so self-reliant or don't be so dependent on supports in your life. I think at some point you have to grow up and know that if I don't have this or I don't have that, I'm still going to make it. And how you do that to me is developing your relationship. Or that's not horizontal. What is that?
That's vertical.
Vertical. Developing your vertical relationship, because there are going to be plenty of times when you feel like you're out there alone, and you have to know that he's never leaving you. He's never forsaking you. He's always going to be there for you. There may be times when you feel like he isn't, but he is. But again, that comes from developing here. So I say this often, whenever I feel out of sorts down here horizontally, whether it's with Mark or whether it's in life, I really evaluate where I am in my vertical relationship with God. And many times, most of the time, it's because I'm off with him. I can handle anything when this is all right. I can handle all of this when this is all right. When this is not all right, all of this won't be.
Be well and be blessed. We love y'all.